Hello, music fans. I'm here to continue my top 10 favorite albums of each year in the 1970s series. We are on 1974, and let's jump right in. But first, I'll start with an honorable mention, which is Queen 2 by Queen. This is some hard rock with art rock, glam rock, some heavy metal, some progressive rock influences all thrown in. It's Queen's second album. I feel they're still finding their iconic sound on here. It's all really well done, but not the songs that most people think of when they think of Queen's most iconic work. I think this album is a bit underrated in that regard, but I also personally prefer some of Queen's later, more iconic albums as well, like A Night at the Opera, and maybe another one that'll even appear higher up on this list from the same year. So with that, we'll jump right into my number 10. My 10th favorite album of 1974 is Rock-a-Rolla by Judas Priest. This is hard rock. It's got some blues, got some psychedelic influence. It's the debut album by these British heavy metal legends, but this is before they found their iconic heavier metal sound. And I actually really like this. I think it's very underrated. The songs on here rock. They even seem to have some influence from Prog, which is great for me because I love prog music. I can hear Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin influence as well as also some sprinkles of psychedelia and prog. Love the title track Rock-a-Rolla. It's a great song. My number 9 album of 1974 is Hergest Ridge by Mike Oldfield. This is a progressive rock album. It's his second album, and it's essentially an instrumental album, though there might be the odd wordless vocal here or there, and the odd word. It's not really singing, but some spoken stuff, wordless vocals. Similar to Tubular Bells, which was his first album, this album is divided into two movements. But this one sounds a bit more organic and natural and less creepy than Tubular Bells. But I'm not sure how much of that is just my impression based on the artwork of the album and the knowledge that I have that Tubular Bells was used in The Exorcist. And my number 8 of 1974 is Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. This is progressive rock as well. It's their 6th album. It's a double album, and it's their last to feature their original frontman Peter Gabriel as the frontman of the band. It's a concept album, but I do have to be honest that I didn't pay attention to the story in the lyrics as much here, but the music on here is really great. My number 7 of 1974 is Burn by Deep Purple. This is a hard rock album, their 8th album, and it's the first by their Mark III lineup that features David Coverdale on vocals and Glenn Hughes on bass and vocals. This has some influences from heavy metal, blues rock, and kind of some boogie rock. And it's the first album of theirs where they incorporated more elements of soul and funk into their sound. Number 6 is one that I foreshadowed earlier. It's by Queen, and it's Sheer Heart Attack. This is a hard rock album. It's their 3rd studio album. Some people might call it glam rock, but I think the compositions have a lot of grandiosity to them and a lot of classical music influences in here, operatic vocals and harmonies. Killer Queen's a great iconic song. I think this is the album where Queen really found their iconic and recognizable signature sound. And Stone Cold Crazy might be one of the first thrash metal songs ever. It went on to influence bands like Metallica, who covered that song later. Number 5 is Starless and Bible Black by King Crimson. This is another progressive rock album. It's their 6th album. 4 tracks on here are vocals, 4 are instrumental. I really like the instrumental tracks on here. In particular, I love Robert Fripp's amazing guitar playing on Fracture. Number 4 is Relayer by Yes. This is another progressive rock album, as most of the albums on this list are. There's a couple hard rock and heavy metal, but mostly prog rock. But yeah, Relayer by Yes is their 7th album. I think it's among their top two most progressive and out there albums by Yes. There's some jazz influence on here. The structure of the album is a lot like Close to the Edge, but I don't think it's as accessible, catchy, and memorable as Close to the Edge. Number 3, 1974, is Rush and their self-titled debut album. This is more hard rock than prog. It's very much Led Zeppelin influenced. It doesn't have Neil Peart on drums because he hadn't joined the band yet, but the drums are still well done. They're just not the next level like what Neil brought. It also lacks Neil's lyrics, but the songs on here are just so fun and rocking. The drum and bass sound great. Even though it's much simpler than what Rush did later in their career, I still really enjoy this album, and I think it's pretty underrated in Rush's discography. And my number 2 is The Power and the Glory by Gentle Giant. This is progressive rock, their 6th album, and it opens with one of my favorite tracks of theirs, which is Proclamation. And my number 1 album, 1974, is Red by King Crimson. Progressive rock album, their 7th album. I think it's their most metal album so far in their career to this point, though it's not really a metal album. But the distorted riffs on Red and Fallen Angel are pretty heavy, even though Fallen Angel as a whole is more of a beautiful, soft song, just with some heavy moments when that big riff comes in. One More Red Nightmare is catchy. Providence is a weird song that I'm guessing is improvised. Starless is a beautiful song, followed by a creepy, dissonant, probably slightly improvised instrumental jam section at the end. If for fans of Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Porcupine Tree, but with more jazz and dissonant avant-garde classical vibes, check out Red by King Crimson. And that's it for my 10 favorite albums of 1974. Let me know what yours are down below in the comments and what do you think of this list. And stay tuned for my next video on 1975. Until then, peace out.